The Mountain West has finally released its full schedule for the upcoming 2026 football season. Joining me today to break it all down for you, JY from the Big Mountain Podcast. JY, thank you so much for joining this evening.
Absolute pleasure. Always love talking about the Mountain West and appreciate the invite to do that here. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. You've got some great work going on over there at the Big Mountain Podcast, and we're glad to have you. Let's talk about the schedule as we break it down real quick, JY. A lot of new changes in the Mountain West this year. Obviously, we have the addition of a few teams. The most notable, I think, would probably be North Dakota State. A lot of noise around heading from the FCS to the FBS. And in my opinion, listen, we did a video recently on North Dakota State. I think they're a team that could easily transition from the FCS and make a run at the Mountain West Conference Championship game. I'd love to get your quick thoughts on North Dakota State and their positioning heading into the Mountain West Conference.
Certainly a strong addition for the conference. Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to come in and be very competitive day one. Not really a question about that. I think, you could see them kind of looking at the Mountain West Championship as a real possibility here in year one. We have a couple really strong teams, New Mexico, UNLV, Hawaii, all coming back with really good teams. Coaches are all returning. So I think breaking into the championship game is going to be really difficult for the Bison. But I definitely think the top half of the Mountain West in league standings is absolutely doable for this team. And probably in short order, just a few years, that they could be challenging for a championship berth and even a championship win. But I like them to be above 500 or at least at 500 in the conference this year. Definitely if they have early successes, they get Air Force first, could be a win there. They get Wyoming second, and then, probably the biggest challenge in the first half of their schedule is UNLV there on October 10th. So we're going to learn a lot about the Bison, both, I think, in the Air Force game, September 12th, and definitely the October 10th game against UNLV. So, yeah, exciting news. It's really created a lot of excitement within the conference, and I'm honestly, with them being added, getting the schedule, I wish we were kicking off here in about 3 weeks, but I got a few more weeks to wait until that happens.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's so exciting. And listen, the fan base at North Dakota State, I mean, they're phenomenal. I've never been up there personally, but I've only heard great things about them. We always get comments. We covered them in the FCS for the past few years and always got a warm welcoming. The fans are very loving to Break the Huddle. I'm sure they're very loving to y'all as well as they enter the Mountain West this year. I would love to go to the Fargo Dome. It's on my bucket list. When we talk about home field advantage, most times you think of these bigger stadiums like the Swamp at Florida, maybe Athens, Georgia for the Bulldogs, a couple other stadiums out there in the Power Four conferences. But to me, I don't know. I feel like schools like Syracuse and now North Dakota State with the domes, it almost feels like there's a different energy around those fan bases and what it brings to the college football atmosphere. I'm pretty excited to see what North Dakota State can do this year. Let's jump over to some of the other teams, and I'll just turn it over to you, JY. Who are some of the teams that you're looking out for this year to have a run to win this conference this year?
Let's start with UNLV. They've been to the championship game now 2 years in a row. Of course, Boise beating them both of those years. They're hungry for not just another berth in the championship game. They want a Mountain West championship, no doubt about it. This will be year 2 under Coach Mullen. And, he brought in a ton of new talent here in the transfer portal in year 1. He's added to that in year 2, and they really have kept a lot of their strong starters that they could from last year. But you look at their first 3 games, and I'll tell you what, they've got absolutely the hardest schedule of any Mountain West team here to start the season. They start things off in week 0 versus Memphis. That's at home. Then they have to travel to Hawaii in the real week 1, at least for this year, September 5th. And then after that, they travel to North Texas. So, a wing dinger of the first 3 games. They are not starting off easy. But I'll tell you, if they get 3 wins in those 3 games, everyone's going to be paying attention to this team as not necessarily just a Mountain West champion, but there'll be talk about CFP potential for this team. So we're going to know pretty early on what this Rebel team is all about when they've got Memphis, Hawaii, and North Texas. And of course, they got UNM on the schedule. I mentioned them earlier. They have to travel down to Albuquerque. They get North Dakota State at home. They also have Cal in an out-of-conference game. So, this schedule is stacked in terms of strength of schedule. And if they can come out of it here as really just a one-loss team, they've got to be one of the favorites for the CFP with that type of strength of schedule, I would think.
No doubt about it. And I would like to mention, too, let's say they're able to beat a team like Cal. They get them at home. Let's say they beat Cal, but they drop one to New Mexico. That's a Power 4 win right there. And it only gives them even more credit when the College Football Playoff Committee is looking at it. But you nailed it right on the head. When I'm looking at the schedule, I'm looking over at it right now away from the camera. That's brutal. It is brutal. The travel to Hawaii alone, we've seen teams. We saw Hawaii beat Stanford. What was that, last year at the beginning of the year? I know it's hard for Hawaii to recruit players into there, and especially with the long travel that they have. So any home game that they get, especially with a team that is right in the dead middle of the United States, that has to travel all the way over there. They're not in the middle. They're a little bit west, but you get the point. They've got to travel a little bit further than a California team. Right. Man, I feel bad for Dan Mullen and that UNLV Rebels team as they enter the season, but he's a good coach and he's ready for the task at hand. I think they should be able to do pretty well this year and have a run at the Mountain West as well, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Talk about
and I just want to say with that, you don't want to come to the end of the season and have people saying, well, what about that strength of schedule? You could be a 10-1 team and people, well, who did they really beat? And that was said a lot about UNLV last year. Who did UNLV really play? Yeah, they're, this and that. That will not be the case this year. They've got a schedule that if they can get through it, nobody's going to question, the strength of that schedule. And you mentioned Hawaii. If I can just jump to them real quick. Because they have a really nice schedule here for the Mountain West. They get 2 Power 4 teams, both of those away. They get Stanford in week 0, so that home and home you mentioned last year. They got to go to Stanford. I like them to beat Stanford again this year. They also travel to Arizona State. Definitely a harder challenge there. But when you look at the in-conference games, they get UNLV, they get New Mexico, and they get San Diego State all at home. And that is massive for them to get what I would say are probably the 3 more difficult games for them. To have all of them at home is huge. So I like the way this Hawaii schedule has set up for them. And again, I will go back to strength of schedule. They've got some, 2 Power 4 teams on there. Even if they go 1-1, they do well in the Mountain West. Hawaii's a school everyone needs to be paying attention to.
Yeah, can you imagine Hawaii in the college football playoff from the Mountain West? What a story that would be, right? That's a movie in the making right there. That would be incredible. We covered them this past year, Hawaii, and the trajectory of the program seems to be doing really well. And I wonder if they can get over the hump. They have to go on the road. They have a road game all the way at Northern Illinois. That's brutal. And you go from Hawaii weather to late October weather up north in Illinois. Oh my gosh, that's brutal. Absolutely brutal. But it's going to be an interesting year for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. And I want to give a shout out to one of my co-hosts, Jake the Weatherman. We do Break the Huddle after dark for the Friday night games. He was a little skeptical at first when we covered Hawaii during their Friday night game last year. And after we did it, it was a late game, obviously, but he really, really had some new respect and new perspective on the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors after watching that game. So I hope they get some nationally televised games this year because the college football fans in general deserve to know who this Hawaii team is and what they're all about because it's going to be fun to watch them this year. I'll turn it back over to you again. Are there any dark horses in the Mountain West that you're looking to make a jump this year that didn't do so hot last year?
Yeah, I got to talk about Air Force. Their quarterback, who he kind of became the starter about week 5 last year, Liam Zarka. Air Force is known, like most of the service academies, the triple option. They do a lot of run game. They control tempo. They rely on a strong defense. But I'll tell you what, Liam Zarka can throw the ball. Absolute dual threat quarterback. He was a ton of fun to watch. Got to see him play live down in the Air Force versus Navy game last year. And, Air Force lost that game by the skin of their teeth. I think their big Achilles heel last year was their secondary. Very young secondary, struggled to cover the pass. And even when they were covering it, they would get flagged on pass interference. I think they take a step forward. The question is how far of a step forward there on that secondary for defense, because their offense, I think, is going to be as good, if not better, than last year. I mean, they were scoring points like, it wasn't typical Air Force offenses that you've seen in the past. So I want to highlight Air Force. If they can get some of that defense, kind of corrected, they could be a really fun team to watch in the Mountain West, and also, possibly break into that top 2, 3, 4 as a dark horse, if you want to call them that. For kind of sniffing a Mountain West championship game. San Jose State really let kind of everybody down last year. I was on the bandwagon that they were going to just kind of, I don't want to say walk through the Mountain West, but a lot of people thought with the schedule that they had and what they did the year before, that they were going to be in the Mountain West championship game. They stumbled out of the gate in week 1 and really never got going after that. I was a huge Walker Egan fan. He's moved on. So there's a lot of question marks right now with San Jose State. I want to like them. But I gotta learn a little bit more about the team moving into this year. I don't want to say New Mexico's not a dark horse. They're going to be near the top. They've reloaded. Jason Eck is absolutely ready to rock and roll again. Wyoming, I would say, you talk dark horse. I would probably throw both Air Force and Wyoming into the dark horse category. And Wyoming, they brought in a transfer quarterback here. They did a ton on defense last year. It really worked out well for them. They had a great defense. They did not have much of an offense, so they're trying to focus on that offense again this year. Remains to be seen how much production they're going to have. But, if they can maintain the defense from last year or pretty close to it and really increase that offensive production, Wyoming's not going to be a team that any Mountain West program is going to want to play. So I'm going to pin my dark horse on Air Force and Wyoming.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at their schedules, it's not easy for any of these teams. When you're playing at the lower level, of course, you're not going to have 5 stars running around at every position like you do at the Georgias, the Ohio States, the Michigans, whatever. And when I look at these schedules, man, it is rough. I mean, even for a team like Wyoming, and we'll kind of go reverse order here, but for Wyoming, they start off on the road at Colorado State. That's not going to be an easy game. I know you mentioned that in your latest episode with the schedule release. They have to play at North Dakota State, at UNLV, at UTEP, and UTEP's one of those teams that I love to watch. I've been following them since they were in the Conference USA. They had a few good years there. They've kind of trickled down a little bit, but they're a team that I could see them making the jump again if they can get the right pieces in place. And then you go over to, you were talking about San Jose State and the disappointment. I mean, my goodness, you open up the season at USC. Are you kidding me? I mean, talk about a reality test right there. I think obviously the favorite's USC, right? But if you're a head coach, you got to be thinking, okay, what is my team made of, right? Can we do the little things the right way? Can we play disciplined football? Can we avoid those costly mistakes that are going to help us win these games in the Mountain West Conference moving forward? You got to go on the road again at Eastern Michigan. By the way, that's going to be a short week. You got to play on Saturday, turn around and play on a Friday night on September 4th. We'll be covering that one here at Break the Huddle After Dark on Friday night. We hope to have you on as well. You're more than welcome to join us as we do a live stream of that game. Awesome. They got to play. Yeah, they got to play Fresno State. Oh, and then, you get to go on the road at Hawaii. That's a long trip. At UTEP, at Nevada, at Air Force. Oh, and then, by the way, you still got to play UNLV and North Dakota State. That's a tough schedule for San Jose State. And then going back to Air Force, you were talking about Air Force. By the way, whoever did this graphic for the Air Force football team on the schedule release, props to them. They deserve a raise. I love how they put the crosshairs on the armed forces matchups. I don't know if you noticed that, but they got to play Navy. They got to play North Dakota State. And again, we don't know how North Dakota State's going to play this year. We expect them to play at a high level like they've been playing in the FCS. Then they got to go on the road at Army. That's going to be a tough game. At New Mexico, at Wyoming. We don't know how those teams are going to fare, but and when I'm looking at the overall schedule, these schedules are rough for these teams, but I think any team is capable of winning the Mountain West. You've got some hiccup games. I love the non-conference matchups, right? You got Northern Illinois playing Iowa. You've got Nevada playing a really tough FCS school, and Montana State. Gotta love that. They also play UCLA. That's not going to be an easy matchup. I'm looking around the board. Oregon State, Michigan for UTEP. I'm excited for the season for the Mountain West. I think all of these teams are going to feel pretty confident heading into the season, as all of these teams think they have a chance to win the Mountain West. I'll turn it back over to you one last time, JY. I know I'm putting you on the spot here. I know it's middle of March. Let's just call this March Madness, okay? If you had to pick, I'll say two teams. If you had to pick the two teams that make it to the conference championship today, again, we haven't done spring ball. We haven't gotten through fall camp or any of that. But if you had to choose two teams today, who makes it to the Mountain West championship game?
Well, that's tough. I think there's, 3 or 4 teams that have a really legitimate shot to make the championship game. Of course, as I mentioned early on, the Rebels going for 3 straight, and they want to win this sucker really, really bad. But, I'm going to go with UNM. They were so close last year. The momentum they had going through the second half of the season was incredible. I think they're going to roll right into this season. I like how they start things off this season. And I think they can roll pretty well. They get UNLV at home. They get North Dakota State at home. They get Air Force at home. And, other than traveling to Hawaii, which they do have a bye, their off week before that. I like this team. I'm a huge fan of Kochek. I like their schedule. So UNM's got to be one of the teams. And I'm going to go, I'm back and forth on UNLV or Hawaii. I love the trajectory of Hawaii. They got this young kid, Micah Alejado, his first year, he lit it up. He's only going to, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to do just as well, if not better. They have a stable of receivers down there. I mean, this is such a fun team to watch. And again, they get the big dogs in the Mountain West at home. UNLV, UNM, North Dakota State, San Jose State. These are all home games for them. And I'm going to focus, week 1, it's nuts. We have what could be 2 of the best teams in the Mountain West playing September 15th, Hawaii versus UNLV. It's crazy that game is on September 15th. So I'm going to pick Hawaii here, but hey, if UNLV wins that game, I'm switching real quick, and I'm going to UNLV. But I'm going to go UNM and Hawaii here early on with my prediction.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick at all. And UNLV, obviously the favorite. This is a big year for Dan Mullen. I think you would agree with this. If he comes out and has another 10-2 season, he wins the Mountain West, he has a chance at the college football playoff. Chances are he's probably going to have a legitimate chance to go get a Power 4 job again. And I don't know if that's what he wants. I don't know if he likes, coaching these guys at a smaller conference, having a chance every year to win it. Something tells me in the back of his mind, he's always itching to get back to that Power 4 spot. When you coach as a big dog in the SEC, to me, it's probably pretty hard to see everyone else get jobs out there. And you're probably telling yourself, I can do much better than that guy. I can do much better at Florida. I can do much better at Mississippi State. I can do much better at any of these schools in the Power 4. So Very curious to see how this plays out for UNLV and Dan Mullen this season. Love the cross conference matchup between Memphis and UNLV too. Memphis, a legitimate Group of Five team almost every year, along with USF down there in the American Conference. It's going to be an exciting year for the Group of Five. Really appreciate you joining the show today, JY. Let the fans know where they can find you on all social media and on YouTube. I know it's in big letters behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. At the Big Mountain Podcast is where you can find us on YouTube. That is our primary avenue to find all things Big Mountain. Do have a little bit out there on some of the other media streaming platforms, but YouTube is the place to go. Make sure you go and subscribe to us there. I'm also on X at JY_TBM. We focus on the pod here on YouTube.
Absolutely. If you're a fan of any Mountain West team, the Mountain West in general, you're going to want to check JY out on YouTube at the Big Mountain Podcast. He does great work over there. I know we'll be in close contact over the next few months heading into the season. I know you've already said yes to coming on Break The Huddle After Dark. It's a great time. Yeah. We're excited to have you. That's our big show every Friday night, but we're excited for it. Really appreciate you joining today again. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that like button. Help us to get to 1,000 subs. Really appreciate all the support so far. We'll see you next week. It's time to Break the Huddle.